Hello and welcome back after the break. I seem very bubbly and happy because normally when you meet politicians you have to tread carefully, but with Bob Blackman we've had a wonderful relationship here at MATV, and personally as well I feel very at ease to talk to him about various topics. So as you know, Bob Blackman, our guest today, has been awarded the Padma Shri, the fourth highest civilian award from India. So that's one wonderful reason why he's here. He's also won with a resounding majority his seat back of Harrow East. So we'll talk about certain things that affect you. And Bob has always said, I have an open door policy. So, you must always reach out to him if you have your issues, and we always encourage you to talk to us at Rajneeti if you have any concerns. Welcome back after the break, Bob. Sort of, I've been talking to you about various things, and I often tell people, and people have told me, if you have any problems in politics or anything to do with local council issues, Bob is your go-to man. It must feel nice to
It's nice, and it obviously involves a lot of work. In my constituency, about 50% of my work is to do with the local authority, and I'm afraid people don't come to me and say what a wonderful job the council has done. They come to me and say the council's failed to do this, the council's failed to do that. Can you help? So I don't turn anyone away. We take up every single issue, and I think the thing that happens certainly with Harrow Council is the frustration that people feel that they don't get an answer. When they contact the council, they just don't get a response.
Yes.
So what I say is that I don't have executive power, I can't control what they do, but I can make sure we get a reply from them to whatever concern you have, whatever complaints you have. And so we get that and we achieve that. And I think the key for all your viewers here is to think of, yes, do approach your MP. Please, I don't want people from across the country suddenly coming, well, I've got a problem here, go and talk to Bob. Do approach your MP, talk to your councillors if you know who your councillors are, because they're the ones that are representing you either on the local authority or in Parliament. And if you don't actually go and contact them, and this is, I think, one of the key influences that I think the Indian population always forget, and that is that by lobbying MPs, lobbying councillors, telling them what they're concerned about and saying, look, I voted for you, or I will vote for you if you do these things. That's how you exercise political influence, rather than sort of sitting back and being done to and just being exploited basically by politicians of any party. So I think it's very important actually that people do contact their MPs by email, by phone, seeing them at surgeries, and saying of you, this is what I believe in, or I need you to do this, or I need you to do that. Because we as MPs are always getting these messages, and if it's a contrary message to what you want to do, then you have to obviously reply and say, well, I'm very sorry, but I'm not going to do that because. So that it's, but if you don't get the Indian diaspora view, then obviously why should MPs speak out on behalf of the Indian diaspora? I think that's very important. And equally for council matters, then I take up issues, whether it's immigration, council issues, failure of public service somewhere, or an influence over some change in policy, I'll take that up.
Okay, there is, so obviously in terms of my interest in music, dance and cultural activities around the UK and in London specifically, I've come across this problem that I find a lot of my colleagues and friends, and because we work in a TV station, we've been often asked this question. There has been this current scenario where members of certain councils are supporting these so-called charities to invite artists from India, performers, on this charity visa and perform at next to nothing. It's doing two things. Number one, it is taking away livelihood of British artists.
Yeah.
And these so-called charities are running a business. If this is a scenario that's happening, how do we change this? And is it because the councils are mainly Labour and there is no influence on them whatsoever? Or can there be change?
Well, obviously the visas are a matter of
Immigration.
government immigration and so on. And one of the problems here is obviously the test is, why are you bringing people from India, say? Why are there no people locally that can provide that? I mean, a classic example is in Indian restaurants and getting chefs. There's always the challenge to say we need chefs to come over because we don't have enough trained people here.
Provide training.
Well, why don't? Yes, exactly. I remember I judged, or was involved not in judging, but in awarding the prizes to a young chefs, young Indian chefs, and I thought, oh, that's wonderful. You know, we're training chefs. No, they'd all come from India, and were being awarded prizes here. To which my reaction is, well, why aren't we training the local people to become chefs so they can take on, because they get well paid in Indian restaurants. Now you're talking about obviously dance and drama, and clearly
Music.
I mean, one of the problems we have, for example, is particularly at, say, Navratri, where all organisations will want to have musicians, and they'll import them from India. To which my reaction is always, well, hang on, wait a minute. Why isn't it that you've got people in the community that can play the music, because they know the music, and often they've studied, they've practiced. Why can't they do it? Why have you got to have someone from India to do this? So that's
will that immigration system be rehauled or sort of changed or jiggled about a bit once the whole European Union Brexit comes along? And
I think we have to look at this on a serious basis, because it's not just India. There are other countries where this applies in different parts of.
Yes, we have
the
Afghanistan.
UK.
We have a lot.
Exactly, and therefore we've got to look at why are we bringing people in. Now, if they are absolutely top-notch performers, you know, Bollywood performers, well, you know, that's understandable.
I'm liking that, Bollywood.
Why not? You know, that's understandable, because there can be
a fan following for it.
Fan following, but also there's interchange between, you know, performing in India and then using studios in the UK to do Bollywood films. I mean, that to me is a good interaction between the UK and India. And obviously there's the stars. Now, why can't we have stars from the Indian diaspora in the UK? Why can't we have stars that then go on to Bollywood, and create that sort of opportunity for young people, if that's what they want to do? You know, not everyone can become a Bollywood star or a Hollywood star, but why not? You know, if you don't aspire to be something, then you won't succeed. And the one thing I do know above all else about the Indian diaspora is they aspire to be the best. Now, why not then, if you can do that? And I know lots of people who are involved in the dance, drama, music side who are truly excellent and can carry on, and they do perform all over the place. And I think you're absolutely right. Well, you're depriving those people of potentially of earning a living, or at least earning a reasonable living, by bringing people for next to nothing. And you know, we've got this situation in other events like sport and so on, whereby sports clubs. In fact, I think there's an argument about Premier League football going on right now. About how many players in the squad should be UK
and
citizens, and how many can be from the European Union. You know, it's a classic example. It's highly paid professionals. Well, why is it we're not training? Why aren't we training enough young people to go on to be at this highest level? Because we've got capability to do it.
So I'm going to kind of put that in a brief summary, and hopefully, अगर आप ये program देख रहे हैं and you're watching Rajneeti with Bob Blackman and me, Darshini Joshi, please, if you are trained, experienced, talented in the fields of the culinary field, whether it is the artistic field, try and set up schools and set up workshops for local children, youth and professionals to join a part of the training circuit and become artists and chefs and teachers in this country and utilize that talent. Now, here's where people who are watching the program are confused. Will they come with these kind of concerns to the councillor, or do they come to the MP? And what are the different roles, and how do you help?
Well, obviously the local councils will look at venues, they'll look at licensing venues. They'll look at providing support to the local community, and councillors exercise control over decision making about what money is given for community centres, what land is provided, and so on. People come to me and I try and influence those decisions. So I can't make those decisions. I don't make government decisions either. I try and influence government departments to do things. So my role is one of influencing rather than decision making. But that's the key role. And I need to have the evidence to say, well, this is what needs to be done, this is why. I often have local community groups come to me saying, we want somewhere we can have as a community centre. And I don't have a property to dispose of, and I don't have a portfolio to say,
but councillors do.
But the local authority does, and officers who are employed by the local authority do. Councillors can make introductions to those officers and help them get to a point whereby they can acquire a property. For example, places come up where cinemas closed down, or places of worship, basically that they get to a point whereby the number of people worshipping that religion reduces, and therefore they say it's no longer viable and we're going to amalgamate with someone else, and then a building becomes available that can be used by another community group and they can buy it and take it on. So there's introductions to be made in that respect.
So we have a few minutes for me to sort of wrap up this really positive, exciting show that we did today. I wanted to ask you one last question before we sort of summarize this lovely show today. So if members of the public are in a difficult situation, they go to their local council.
Yep.
Unfortunately, at the moment, a lot of the Harrow councillors are all Labour. How difficult is it for you to still be able to support someone that is sort of from in a difficult situation where the Labour Party, I wouldn't say party, the Labour-led council is not being understanding or even listening to their concerns?
Well, I think the first thing is it depends if it's an individual problem,
right,
which affects an individual, or whether it's a policy issue. Where it's a policy issue, clearly we have to try and influence the council to do something as an elected body. Where it's an individual problem, then I go direct to the officers.
Good.
All right, and say, look, this is what's going to happen. This is my complaint on behalf of the constituent. This is what I want to see happen. Now, that doesn't always produce a response. Well, it always will produce a response. It doesn't always get the action that my constituent would want.
But at least you've done something.
But I do something, and I don't. If they don't answer, then we send them a reminder, and we do everything in writing, because I think that's the best way. Because people can always say, deny a phone call or deny anything else. So everything goes in writing, so we get a written response as well. So the constituent gets the written response from me, so that we've said we're going to try and do something. We get the answer, and then the constituent can either say yes, I accept that, or I'm not very happy about this, is there anything we can do? And we can see if we can do anything further. But I think that I'm acting really as a conduit to make them actually make an answer. Now, I also act in concert with local councillors where they are cooperative. Now, if they're not cooperative, well, fine, that's up to them. And obviously what I seek to do is to maximise the number of Conservative councillors we have. That's what I was going to say.
So if you're watching the programme, currently 1,326 seats are held in the UK by, in terms of council seats, in the council facility working seats, by Labour, and 842 seats for the Conservatives. And we want to bring a change. We want to have a point where we have a balanced member of councillors for each borough in London and around the country. So I hope by 2020.
Well, I think the other thing is it's not just getting a balance, but it's bringing people from the Indian diaspora forward as candidates and councillors. One of the things that happened when I first got involved in Brent, I'm afraid we had one non-white councillor on the Conservative side. By the time I became leader, we'd got about 25%, and by the time I left the council, it was 50% of the Conservative councillors were non-white, if I can put it that way, but mainly of Indian origin. And in Harrow, it's the same thing. We have changed the makeup because it's better to have a council which is of mixed ethnicity, so that you can actually not only speak the community languages but understand the issues that people are complaining about. And therefore, often if you've got someone coming forward from the diaspora, that's much better. But the problem is that what always happens is that people come forward on the edge of elections.
So you have to work towards that.
What I would encourage all your viewers to, if you want to get involved, now is a great time to get involved. After we've had a general election, way before local elections.
So this is local councillor seats, which is going to happen in 2022.
Yeah.
Please get involved, be a part of whichever party you support. We would say, obviously, we have a Conservative member here, so support Conservative, but honestly, you can support any party, but like you said, be a part of the local councillors. We plan to, in Rajneeti, over the next couple of months, over the years, bring more councillors accountable here. So Rajneeti, I'm sure you will have your certain suggestions, but Rajneeti is going to bring councillors here and say, please talk to us, understand, see the problems around and see if you can solve those. As we wrap up the show, I would genuinely like to say, and on behalf of my team here and at MATV and all the viewers, we are so very proud of you, sir, for becoming Padma Shri. Being awarded that honor is fabulous. I hope you continue to grow, and I hope you continue to do sterling work that you have been doing in the United Kingdom for your constituencies. And we wish you the very best for the next 5 years. And I hope to see you somewhere even higher.
Well, thank you. I'm committed to obviously represent my constituents to the utmost of my ability, and I will do so, and I'll carry on doing the work that I'm doing. This is not, the end of our process, but it's clearly part of a process. I'm deeply honoured to receive this award, and it's always great to be recognised for what you do. But I won't stop. I will carry on making sure I'm representing the Indian diaspora, not only locally but nationally and in Parliament, and making sure that the voice is heard in Parliament loud and clear, both to the government and to the people, knowing that their voice is being heard and being put forward.
Thank you so much for that, and please continue doing this wonderful work. You've been tuned into Rajneeti. I would like to say have a good evening. Rajneeti will continue now that we have the new targets, the mayoral elections. There's lots happening. So this is Darshini Joshi signing off, thanking Bob Blackman for being here. Thank you and namaskar.